Earlier lecture we have been discussed. So when primitive root exists or existence of primitive root. So let's have statement for any prime p number, and if d is divisor of p minus 1, then there are exactly 5 of d incongruent integers having order d modulo p. So we have been proved this theorem. Also we discuss corollary related to that. For any prime p, there are exactly 5 of p minus 1 primitive roots of prime p. Let's have a look on this example. This example is based on previous theorem. So if p is a prime of the form 4k plus 1, then we have to show that the quadratic congruence x square congruent to minus 1 modulo p has no solution. So this we have to prove. So let's have proof. What is p? P is prime number of the form 4k plus 1. So let prime p is equals to 4k plus 1. This implies what? This implies p minus 1 is equals to 4k. This implies what? Your 4 divides p minus 1. Okay. Then by last theorem, there is an integer a having order 4 modulo p. So using that theorem, we have a to the power 4 minus 1 congruent to 0 modulo p, or equivalently a to the power 4 minus 1, this can be written as a square minus 1 into a square plus 1, which is congruent to 0 modulo p. But as p is a prime number, it follows that either a square minus 1 congruent to 0 modulo p or a square plus 1 congruent to 0 modulo p, because p is prime and this product is congruent to what? 0 modulo p. Okay, so if this product is congruent to 0, this means what? Either a square minus 1 is congruent to 0 or a square plus 1 is congruent to 0. So we are going through both the cases. So what happened? If a square minus 1 is congruent to 0 modulo p, this implies what? A square is congruent to 1 modulo p. If I added minus 1 on both the side, then this implies a square is congruent to 1 modulo p. So what does it mean? It means order of integer a is less than or equal to 2. This means what? As a square is congruent to 1 modulo p, this implies what? Order of a is less than or equal to 2, which is contradiction to what? Here, look at here, a to the power 4 minus 1 is congruent to 0 mod p. So this states what? This states order of a is less than equals to 4. But here we are arriving, if we assume this congruence a square minus 1 congruent to 0 mod p, then it gives order of integer a is less than equal to 2. So this is contradicting to this statement. Okay, so therefore which one be true? Therefore a square plus 1 congruent to 0 mod p, this is true. Hence a square plus 1 congruent to 0 mod p makes the integer a solution to the congruence x square congruent to minus 1 mod p. Okay, so this congruence is the solution. This due to this a square plus 1 congruent to 0 mod p, we can say that a is the solution of this congruence. Okay, now next example. If p is prime, then prove that the only incongruent solutions of x square congruent to 1 modulo p are 1 and p minus 1. So we have to show that for any prime p, 1 and p minus 1, these are the only two solutions for the congruence x square congruent to 1 mod p. So let's have solution. Given congruence is, what is given congruence? X square congruent to 1 mod p. Since p is odd prime, then 2 divides p minus 1. Here p is odd prime. Okay, in example they have given p is a odd prime. Okay, so since p is a odd prime, then 2 divides p minus 1. Okay, okay, for any odd prime p, 2 always divides p minus 1, okay. Therefore, by corollary to Lagrange theorem, the congruence x square minus 1 congruent to 0 mod p has exactly two solutions, okay. So we have proved the corollary to Lagrange theorem. What was that? X to the power d minus 1 mod p has exactly, sorry, x to the power d minus 1 congruent to 0 mod p has exactly d solution whenever d divides p minus 1, where p is a prime. So using that, as 2 divides p minus 1, so x square minus 1 congruent to 0 mod p has exactly two solution. Clearly 1 is the solution, okay. Now we have to prove 1 and p minus 1 are that solution, okay. So first we have proved this congruence has exactly two solution. Now we are going to find what are that solution, but here in example itself they have given 1 and p minus 1, that are the solution. So we just need to prove, means we have to just verify 1 and p minus 1 are its solution, okay. So let's verify. Clearly 1 is the solution because 1 is congruent to 1 mod p, okay. P minus 1 is also solution, as now if I put p minus 1 instead of x in this congruence, so what happened? So instead of x, put p minus 1, so we get p minus 1 its square. What is p minus 1 its square? The p minus 1 square is equal to what? P square minus 2p plus 1, okay. This is congruent to what? 1 mod p. How it is congruent? Whether this is congruent or not, how it is congruent? Because p square minus 2p plus 1 and 1, okay, difference of these two numbers, p square minus 2p plus 1 and this one, what is its difference? So p square minus 2p plus 1 minus 1, that is p square minus 2p, okay. So p square minus 2p, if I take common out, p as common out, so what happened? P into p minus 2, so this p should divides p minus 2 into p, okay. That's why p square minus 2p plus 1 is congruent to 1 mod p by definition of congruent. When we say that two integers are congruent, if a is congruent to b modulo n, if and only if n should divides their difference, that is n should divides a minus b. So here also p is dividing p square minus 2p plus 1 minus 1, okay. So that's why p minus 1 its square is congruent to 1 modulo p. So as this p minus 1 satisfying this quadratic congruence x square congruent to 1 modulo p, therefore p minus 1, this is also solution of this congruence. Hence we proved 1 and p minus 1 are solutions, and that are incongruent modulo p, okay. Incongruent means what? 1 and p minus 1, these two are not congruent to each other, okay. So getting this example, now let's move to the next theorem, okay. Before that, recall the facts. Suppose a and b are two positive integers, okay. Suppose a and b are two positive integers, then the product of their LCM and GCD is equal to product of that two integers, okay. It means what? LCM of a comma b multiply by GCD of a comma b is equals to what? AB, okay. So this is the important relation in number theory. What are the a and b? A and b are positive integers. We are going to use, okay, this relation in second theorem of today's lecture. So from this relation, what is value of LCM? Value of LCM of a comma b is equals to what? Product of AB upon GCD of a comma b, okay. Third, recall, if GCD of a comma n equals to 1 and a to the power phi n is congruent to, here is 1, okay, a to the power phi n is congruent to 1 modulo n, then a is primitive root of n, okay. This is a definition of primitive root. Then a is primitive root of n provided that there is no k less than phi n such that a to the power k is congruent to 1 modulo n, okay. So if GCD of a comma n is equals to 1 and a to the power phi of n is congruent to module 1 modulo n, then only we say that then only we say that a is primitive root of n, otherwise not. Okay. So what happens? Suppose if I take a to the power some a to the power k congruent to 1 modulo n, where k is other than phi of n, then whether we can say a is primitive root of n, not. Okay, we are not say like that. So whatever last line I have tell you, we will use this result as a result to prove the theorem. Okay, so let's have theorem. So next article 8.3, composite numbers having primitive roots. So what is mean by composite numbers?
The numbers which have more than two factors, that are the composite numbers.
Okay, the number which has more than two factors, that are
Composite
composite
number.
numbers. Okay, this is also true. Okay, uh, she is also true. She means, I will tell in another way. She means the number which is not prime is said to be composite. Okay, the numbers other than prime are what? Composite numbers. Okay, so everyone know what is meant by composite number. Up till now we have been discussed prime numbers have primitive roots. Okay, here onwards we will discuss as a tools that composite numbers also has a primitive roots. Okay, so first theorem, for k greater than equals to 3, the integer 2 to the power k has no primitive roots. Okay, for k greater than equals to 3, the integer 2 to the power k has no primitive roots. So this we have to prove. What is k here? K is greater than equals to 3 means what? 2 cube, 2 to the power 4, that is 2 to the power 5 and 2 to the power 6. All these numbers, these are all composite numbers that have no primitive roots. Okay. So remember that every composite numbers need not be have primitive roots. Okay. Now to proving this theorem, we will show that if a is an odd integer, then for k greater than equals to 3, a to the power 2 to the power k minus 2 is congruent to 1 modulo 2 to the power k. Okay, so first we will show that for any odd integers a to the power 2 to the power k minus 2 is congruent to 1 modulo 2 to the power k. Okay, so we'll prove this result by mathematical induction on k. Okay, so k is what? Greater than equal to 3. So we assume in induction first value of k, that is k is equals to 3. So if k is equals to 3, then this congruence becomes, suppose if I put k is equal to 3 in equation 5, this is equation 5. Okay, so a to the power 2 to the power 3 minus 2, 1. So 2 to the power 1 is 1. So it becomes a square congruent to 1 modulo 2 to the power 3 is 8. So this become a square is congruent to 1 modulo 8, which is true. Okay, suppose if I take any odd integer. Okay, uh, first odd integer is what? 1. So if I put a is equals to 1, then 1 square is what? 1, and 1 is congruent to 1 mod 8. Similarly, second odd integer, if you put any odd integer, suppose if I put 5, 5 square is what? 25. 25 is congruent to 1 mod 8, as 25, difference of 25 and 1 is 24, which is divisible by 8. Okay, so for any odd integer a and for value of k is equals to 3, so equation 5 holds. Okay, so that's why this congruence is true for value of k equals to 3. So now we assume the case for what happened for k equals to 3, whether this is true or not. So we'll prove for k equals to 3, this is also true. So now we assume by induction on k, assume that the congruence 5, this congruence 5 holds for the integer k. Okay, so we are assuming that this equation 5 is true for value of k. Okay, means a to the power 2 to the power k minus 2 is congruent to 1 modulo 2k. This is true for any value of k. Okay, and we will show that it becomes true for value of k plus 1. Okay, assuming that the congruence 5 holds for the integer k, that is a to the power 2 to the power k minus 2 is congruent to 1 modulo 2k. Okay, so it means what? Look at this congruence. A to the power 2 to the power k minus 2 is congruent to 1 modulo 2k. This means what? Your 2 to the power k should divides a to the power 2 to the power k minus 2 minus 1, means difference of these two numbers. Okay, 2 to the power k divides difference of these two numbers, and this implies what? A to the power 2 to the power k minus 2 is equals to 1 plus some integer b times 2 to the power k. Okay, so by definition of congruence in first lecture of number theory, a is congruent to b modulo n. This implies what? N divides a minus b, and this implies what? A minus b is equals to some n times k. This implies what? A is equals to b plus nk. Like that here also, a to the power 2 to the power k minus 2 equals to 1 plus b into 2 to the power k. Okay. So getting this up to this, everyone? Am I audible? Yes or no?
Yes.
So call this as equation number 6, where b is what? B is some integer. Now if we square on both side, okay, taking square on both side, so what happen? A to the power 2 to the power k minus 2, its square is equals to what? 1 plus b into 2 to the power k whole square. Okay, so what we obtained? So here it is, square of this term, this is equals to a square into 2 to the power k minus 2. Okay, which is equals to, as expanding a plus b whole square, so this is equals to 1 plus 2 times b into 2 to the power k plus b into 2 to the power k its square. Okay, so this is simple calculation. So 2 to the power 1 into 2 to the power k minus 2, this is equals to what? 2 to the power 1 plus k minus 2, which 1 plus k minus 2 is equals to what? 1 minus 2 is what? Minus 1. So this quantity equals to a into 2 to the power k minus 1, which is equals to 1 plus b into 2 to the power 1 into 2 to the power k is what? 2 to the power k plus 1, plus square of this quantity is what? B square into 2 to the power 2k. Okay. Now taking 2 to the power k plus 1 common out from this sum, b to the power b into 2 to the power k plus 1 plus b square 2 to the power 2k. We are taking 2 to the power k plus 1 common out. So what happened? 1 plus 2 to the power k plus 1 common. So what remains in bracket? B plus b square as it is, 2 into 2 to the power k minus 1. Okay, taking common out. So which is congruent to what? 1 modulo 2 to the power k plus 1, which is equals to, which is congruent to what? 1 modulo 2 to the power k plus 1. So this implies a to the power 2 to the power k minus 1 is congruent to 1 modulo 2 to the power k plus 1. How it occurs? From this, yes. So this is simple calculation, you can calculate up to this, but my question is, from this, how could I say this is congruent to 1 modulo 2 to the power k plus 1? Okay. So how? Here, look at equation 6. Suppose if I put k is equals to k plus 1 here. Okay. Instead of k, if I put k plus 1, what happen? A to the power 2 to the power k plus 1 minus 2. Plus 1 minus 2 is what? Minus 1. So what happened? a to the power 2 to the power k minus 1 is congruent to what? 1 plus b to the power, sorry, b into 2 to the power k plus 1. Getting this? So here also same, a to the power 2 to the power k minus 1 is equals to what? 1 plus 2 to the power k plus 1 in bracket this. Okay, so b is integer, that's why b square is also integer, and 2 to the power k minus 1 is also integer. Okay, so this sum of two integer is what? Again integer. So what happened finally? A to the power 2 to the power k minus 1 is equals to what? 1 plus some 2 times k plus 1 into integer, say it capital B. Okay, so here, as like here, 1 plus b times 2 to the power k. So what happened here? 1 plus some capital B times 2 to the power k plus 1. So this states that a to the power 2 to the power k minus 1 is congruent to 1 modulo 2 to the power k plus 1. So that the congruence 5 also holds for value of k plus 1. Okay, hence for k greater than equals to 3, the result a to the power 2 to the power k minus 2 is congruent to 1 modulo 2k is true. Okay, now the integers that are relatively prime to 2 to the power k are precisely the odd integers. Okay, so whatever the integers which are co-prime to 2 to the power k, that are only odd integer, so that phi of 2 to the power k, phi of 2 to the power k is equals to 2 to the power k minus 1. Okay, now by the congruence 5, look at the congruence 5. What was that? A to the power 2 to the power k minus 2. Okay, that was congruence 5. So if a is an odd integer and k is greater than equals to 3, so what is value of here? Look at here. Okay, congruence 5 was what? A to the power 2 to the power k minus 2. But what is value? I can write 2 to the power k minus 2 as 2 into 2 to the power. How could I write 2 to the power k minus 2? I can write this as 2 to the power k minus 1 into 2 to the power minus 1. Okay, because minus 1 is minus 2. So 2 to the power k minus 2 can be exhibited as 2 to the power k minus 1 into 2 to the power minus 1. So using that, what is here? What is value of 2 to the power k minus 1? That is phi of 2k. So it becomes, from congruence 5, this is equal to a to the power phi of 2 to the power k into 2 to the power minus 1, and 2 inverse is what? 1 by 2. So overall what happened? A to the power phi of 2 to the power k upon 2 is congruent to 1 modulo 2k. Okay, so hence we conclude that there are no primitive roots of 2k. Why? Because by definition of primitive root, when we say that any integer has primitive root, if GCD of a comma n is 1 and a to the power phi of n is congruent to 1 modulo n. But here what happened? A to the power phi of 2k divided by 2 is congruent to 1 modulo 2k. Okay, so that's why what happened? There are no primitive roots of 2 to the power k, means a is not going to be primitive roots of 2 to the power k, because here this phi of 2k is divisible by 2. Okay, suppose if we come to the result other than this, like a to the power phi of 2k is congruent to 1 modulo 2k, then we can say a is primitive root of 2 to the power k. But here phi of 2k is divided by 2. Okay, so this is not this is against definition. Okay, so that's why a to the power phi to the power 2k divided by 2 congruent to 1 modulo 2k implies a is not primitive root of 2 to the power k. So in general we can conclude that there are no primitive roots of 2 to the power k. Okay, so for proving this result, for any k greater than equal to 3, the integer 2 to the power k has no primitive roots. First we proved by mathematical induction this congruence is true. Okay, for any k greater than equal to 3, and after proving this, what we modify phi of 2k is equals to 2 to the power k minus 1, and from this we we will reach at this congruence, and by definition of primitive root we conclude that a is not primitive roots of 2 to the power k. Okay, which completes the proof. Let's move to the next theorem. If GCD of two integers m comma n is equals to 1, how's m and n both are greater than 2, then the integers mn has no primitive roots. Okay, suppose if I collect two integers, m is greater than 2 and n is greater than 2, those integers whose GCD is what? 1, means m and n are co-prime and both are greater than 2. Then the integers, which integer? If I take their product m into n, then that product has no primitive roots. Okay, so let's have a proof. Consider any integer a for which GCD of a comma mn is equals to 1. So here I took any integer a whose GCD with mn is 1. Okay, so this implies GCD of a with m is equals to 1 and GCD of a with n is equals to 1. So remember that whenever GCD of a comma mn is equals to 1, it means what? GCD of a with m always 1 and GCD of a with n always 1. Okay, so mn is what? M and n are any positive integers greater than 2. Okay, now assume or put h is equals to LCM of phi m comma phi n. Okay, phi m comma phi n is what? Phi means what? Euler's function. Okay, so put h is equals to LCM of phi m comma phi n, and d is equals to GCD of phi m comma phi n. Okay, because phi m and phi n are both even. Why? Because there is a theorem for an integer n greater than 2, phi of n is always even. Okay, I repeat, for any integer n greater than 2, phi of n is always even. So here both m and n, what they given? M and n are greater than 2. So that's why phi m and phi n, these are even number. Okay, so as phi m and phi n both are even, so their GCD is what here? GCD of phi m and phi n is what? D. So their GCD is always greater than equals to 2. Okay, GCD is always greater than equals to 2. So therefore D is greater than equals to 2. Hence, now in regard to LCM of two positive integers into GCD of two positive integers is equal to what? Product of two positive integers. So here H means LCM, D means GCD. So H into D is equals to what? Phi of M into phi of N. So therefore H is equals to what? So from this H is equals to phi of M into phi of N upon D, using that recall to. Okay. But remember phi of M into phi of N, this is less than phi of Mn. Okay. And here what they say? D is greater than or equal to 2. This implies what? 1 by d is less than equals to 2. So therefore here also 1 by d is less than equals to 1 by 2. So together with all these recalls and these, what we obtain, h is equals to phi of m into phi of n upon d is less than equals to what? Phi of mn by 2. So our h is less than equals to what? Phi of mn by 2. Now there was Euler's theorem we have been proved. So what Euler's theorem say? Euler's theorem say that a to the power phi of m is congruent to 1 modulo m. Okay, this is a statement of Euler's theorem. So a to the power phi of m is congruent to 1 modulo phi m. Now a to the power h, a to the power h, a to the power h is equals to what? H, what is value of h? Phi of m into phi of n upon d. So a to the power phi of m into phi of n divided by d. But a to the power phi of m. A to the power phi of m is what? Congruent to what? 1 by Euler's theorem. So A to the power phi m is congruent to 1. That's why its value is what? 1. So this is congruent to 1 to the power phi of n divided by d. 1 raised to anything is what? 1. Okay. So this is congruent to what? 1 modulo m. So what we obtained? A to the power h is congruent to 1 modulo m. So thus A to the power h is congruent to 1 modulo m. Call this as equation number 7. Okay. Similarly, for positive integer n greater than 2, a to the power phi of n is congruent to 1 modulo n by Euler's theorem. Okay, so using same methodology, a to the power h is equals to what? A to the power phi m into phi n by d. So here I can write as a to the power phi n into phi of m by d. But a to the power phi n is what? Congruent to 1. So what do I obtain there? This is congruent to 1 to the power phi of m by d, and 1 raised to anything is what? 1. So this is overall congruent to what? 1 modulo n. So there also I obtained a to the power h is congruent to 1 modulo n. Call this as equation number 8. What was equation number 7? A to the power h is congruent to 1 modulo m, and equation number 8 is what? A to the power h is congruent to 1 modulo n. Now together with the equation number 7 and 8 and with the hypothesis, what was given? G of m comma n equals to 1. So from this we can conclude that a to the power h is congruent to 1 modulo mn. A to the power h is congruent to 1 modulo mn. Thus the order of any integer relatively prime to mn does not exceeds phi of mn by 2, and hence there can be no primitive roots of mn. Okay, this completes the proof. Okay, so these are the two theorems. So these two theorems helps to find primitive roots for composite numbers. So this theorem helps. How they help? So they help only to discard which composite number has no primitive root. Means suppose if you have given some list of composite numbers and I say find the primitive roots of possible composite numbers. Okay, so these two theorems will help you to discard the composite numbers among that list whatever I have given. Okay, so this is the application of this theorem. For today we'll stop here. In next lecture, we'll discuss corollary related to this and some examples among the exercises. Okay, so try to understand this theorem, read it, and if you are not getting, you can ask me.